Welcome everyone to another Training Tuesday here in Coach Connect Hub. It is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Our speaker today is the wonderful John D. Allen. John, what have you got for us today?
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate the opportunity of being here. What I'd like to share with everybody today is fall in love with your prospect's problem, not your solution or program. And what I mean by that is there's so many people out there that when you say hello and they want to throw up all over you, or if they hear just the slightest problem that you have, they've got this great, grand, and wonderful solution for you. They haven't bothered to dig down to find out where your real problem is. And we all know that until you get down to the real problem, nobody's going to buy from you. What all that means is, again, when people first start talking to you, they give you a surface level problem. But in order to get down there, it's like going down an iceberg. You have to go down 5, 7 levels to get down to the real problem. And when you can get down to that real problem and they admit that it's a real problem, then, and they want to do something about it, that's when you offer your solution. Now, I know we've all been trained that, and I know I was guilty of it, that as soon as somebody said, well, leads, I don't have enough leads, jump right in there and I got the greatest, grandest, most wonderful solution for that, or whatever their problem was. And yet that's not even their problem. So now what happens is people start now, they don't trust you. What happens is we've all heard this know, like, and trust. The trust, in my opinion, comes first. Because if you don't have the trust, they're not going to honestly answer your questions. They can know you and like you. They'll think you're the greatest person going. They'll love shooting the breeze with you, but they won't do any business with you. So you have to build that trust up first. And again, picture yourself being a doctor. When you go to a doctor, the doctor's not out there to bring you a coffee, to do all this great, grand, wonderful stuff. The doctor's asking you questions. You go in there and say, I got a sore shoulder. Okay. Why do you have a sore shoulder? What have you? And they keep digging down and down and down until they come to the real problem. That's what we need to do when we're talking to our prospects and clients. Without that, we're at a total loss. There are so many people, like I said, you say hello and they throw up all over you. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody wants to hear that, see it, or anything else. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of companies have taught their people. And one of the networking companies, for example, they're all taught about how great, grand, and wonderful their product is and everybody should have it. They don't bother going in there to find out why the person has it. One of the things I do, for example, is I'm sure we all get them. These people that send out, they're going to find us leads. They're going to find you a gazillion leads and they're going to do all this great, grand, and wonderful stuff. I was working with a couple of gentlemen. One was a retired engineer. The other was a retired doctor. And this guy offered 10 times the revenue these guys were generating. So I said to the doctor, call this guy up, tell him, great, your practice, and he was going to do this in 90 days. Call this guy up, tell him your practice generates $10 million a year. And you're looking for him to 10 times it. So $100 million in 90 days, that's going to be a real good deal. I guess the guy had kind of a funny look on his face because he realized it was a promise he couldn't keep. And the other thing is, with all these people that are going to find you all these quality leads and everything, they don't know your business anywhere like you do. And a lot of you have heard me say, you've got to be an inch wide and a mile deep. Why is that? Because if you're an inch deep and a mile wide, you're nothing to nobody. You've got too many people. So you have to know who your ideal client is, what your offer is. It's so important to know exactly what your offer is and who it pertains to. This is where the inch wide comes in. You might deal with coaches, you might deal with lawyers, any particular deal. But that's such a broad base. You've got to narrow it down to a certain part in that group. Come down and down. The more narrow you get, the more clients you can actually generate. Simply because you know what you want, you've got a target audience, and you're not having to water down your message to get to the points that you want to get across. Because if it's too watered down, your ideal clients, you're missing them. They're just blowing right over your message. They're not even stopping to read it. It's just boom. I mentioned is know who your ideal client is. Know what they want. Now, it's easy if you've been around this industry any length of time. You know what the majority of people's problems are. There's a good chance they'll have one of them. Now, it's something you may not be aware of. Every prospect client you talk to has 5 questions they'll never ask you, but if you don't answer them, you're not going to get them as a client. The first one is, do I trust this person enough to tell them the honest truth about the situation? Again, that's where you're building trust. The second one is, do I trust this person enough to follow through on what their suggestion is for a solution? If they don't trust you there, they're not going to follow through on what you do. The third question is, can I do this? Fourth one is, do I really want to do this? And the fifth one is he or she the person that I want to help me? If you can't answer those questions when you're going through and talking to that person, you're going nowhere fast. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever experienced that. I know that I have many times over my career. I thought I had this one was all in the bag. And then you hear the dreaded, I'll think about it. What happens then? Then you're in the chasing game. One thing I always found is they could run faster than I could. They could outrun me like going out of style. And now with the internet and everything, they just start to ghost you. And you can't figure out why they're not calling you back. They answered all your questions what you thought was the right way. They gave you all the indications that it was right. Now they're ghosting you. The reason is you never got down to their real problem. They don't trust you. And the other thing, as you're building trust, you're going down, this person starts to talk to you. And this comes in from sales training, and I'm sure a lot of us have had it for many years. You want to keep moving that person down the line. If you start moving that person down the line and they're not ready, they start to balk. The other thing is they know that they're being sold to. So my suggestion to you is go into that meeting, and I tell people, don't have any assumptions. The only assumption to have is, I don't think they're going to be a client. With that, now you can listen openly. You're not there trying to move them down the line or anything. You can listen with intent. You can hear what they're saying. You can see hear the voice inflections. You can see their body movements and everything else. So as you move this, you're talking to this person. There's no pressure on you. There's also no pressure on them. So now what happens is that person says, wow, Sam's really good. She's not pushing me down here to make a sale. She's present here with me. That's what they want. They want you to be present with them when you're talking to them. They don't want you off in another land thinking what you're going to say next. You know, we've all heard a lot of people listen. They don't listen. What they do is they listen so they can talk next, or they want to get that next question out, or they want to get this next point out. They're not really paying attention to what that person's saying. We've all been in conversations like that. And I don't know about you guys, but it drives me up a wall. You know, when that person can't even bother to really listen to you. So if you go in there with no agenda, They're not going to be a prospect. They're not going to be a client. It's not likely going to work. Now you can listen to them with your full attention and everything on there. The other part is if you don't jump in with your solutions and all that right away, and this, by the way, takes quite a bit. It's easy to say, fall in love with your prospect's problem, not your solution. But I'll tell you one thing, when you first start doing it, it's damn hard because we're all used to jumping in there with our solutions and you got to do this. So you got to teach yourself to hold back, don't jump in there, bite your tongue, whatever you have to do. Just don't get involved in it. Let that person talk. And you know what? The more they talk, the more they're going to tell you what they need, what their real wants are, and actually how to sell them. Because now, as you keep letting them talk, guess what they come along with 90, 95% of the time? They say, Michael, how can you help me? Or what can you do for me? That's what you want to hear. You don't want your solution to be out there before. Let them ask you for it. And when they ask you, they're open and receptive to listening to you. That is one of the biggest things that I had a heck of a time trying to learn and do because I talk too much. And the other thing we all got to remember is the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. And as salespeople, there's a good chance we all like to talk twice as much as we listen. So, you got to switch that around and get into that other habit. The other thing by listening to what people really want is, like I said earlier, this is where they feel understood. And when they feel understood, that's when they want to deal with you. They don't buy when they understand you. They buy when they feel understood. So it's one thing to always remember, to make sure you try and understand that person. One of the other things that a lot of coaches do and consultants is we're becoming commoditized. What do I mean by that? We're all willing to give out a ton of material, PDFs, checklists, all this stuff. Everybody and their dog is doing it. So when you sound like everybody and their dog, people commoditize you. That's all you are. You're just another commodity. And all they base then on is price. It doesn't matter what your services are. They just look at you, well, who's the cheapest? Who's going to give you the best deal? Got a question for you guys. Canada doesn't have them, but I understand that Nordstrom in the US is a high-end department store. Now, the people that shop at Nordstrom's, can those people, if they want to, shop at Walmart? Sure they can, right? Can the majority of the people that shop at Walmart shop at Nordstrom's? My understanding is no. Why is that? By the way, the answer isn't price. It's the value. Nordstrom's puts a higher value on their products and services than Walmart does. And that's something we can all learn from. When you when you put your price based on your value, you can charge a lot more for your service. If you go on price, you're taking the table scraps that the big guys drop on the floor. There's no prize for being second cheapest. You don't want to be the Walmart of your industry. You want to be the Nordstrom's. Again, why? Because people value that. When you've got strong value, that's what people are looking for. And so you do that. So now, the other thing is too, when you're talking to these people, keep the ball in their court. Again, let them do the majority of the talking and you do most of the listening. So when you're going along there, it's great. Let them do the talking. When that starts to happen, now, what's one thing that everybody likes to talk about? Themselves, their problem. So let them talk. You know, what's everybody's favorite, everybody's favorite topic is themselves. WIIFM. What's in it for me? So when you let these people know what's in it for them and that you care about them, and your only job is to care about them. Your job isn't there to make a sale. Your job is to make sure that they get the best product or service possible. It may or may not be with you. And if they're not a good fit for you, tell them that. Don't take them on just because, oh, geez, I need the money or I need this, because we all know that those clients a lot of times are going to be a royal pain in the patoot. And that's the last thing you want. I tell people, just because you got a pulse and wallet doesn't mean you can work with me. You have to qualify to work with me. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something we should all be doing. The person should have to qualify to work for you. It's your business. Treat it like that. You're the CEO, you're the boss. So treat it like that. And when you treat it like, they have to qualify for you, you're going to get a lot better clients. Sam, has anybody got any questions?
All right, John, I am going to bring everybody up here. Let me just stop the recording.